All right, and good afternoon, everybody. Again, Nelson Santini from Trident Proposal Management. Welcome to our webinar on Polaris GWAC IDIQ. What to do during this pause? We actually have been on a pause, for a little bit over a month now, if not, it feels a little bit longer. And we're just going to cover what are the activities that we should be actually just doing in case you're not doing those already. Again, key takeaways for today. It's going to be a very brief webinar, and more than anything, it's going to be an opportunity for us to have a Q&A if there's anything that wants to be discussed. But 3 key takeaways: what to do during this particular time. Number 1, continue to do the bid no bids, review the qualification project matrix, and also review your compliance matrix. Those are 3 key things to make sure that you have under your belt and that you've done a couple of times in case actually you've missed a particular detail, because we have that commodity which we call time. Sponsoring the event today is actually just Trident Proposal Management, founded in 2008, providing a complete realm of support on anything related to capture and proposal management, from market management, capture management, proper proposal management and writing, and also training and coaching events. I'll be your speaker for today. Again, most of you have actually just seen my presentations. About 25 years in the world of federal government sales, over $2 billion in sales on IDIQs and their direct task orders. So love to actually just share with you some of the knowledge that I have. If you have any questions, please hit me up at nelson@tridentproposals.com. And again, just a very brief agenda. We're going to review the timeline, review the changes, if any. We're going to actually just do a quick recap of the protest, which has been resolved, and then we're going to go into the recommendations. Very straightforward in recommendations. Again, bid no bids and verify your qualification status. So with that said, let's just rip into the presentation, because I know that we have plenty of things to do. I want to be brief, bright, and be gone so you guys can get the information that you need. So on the calendar, here are the latest changes. So the questions that were submitted to the government on the 23rd of May of 2022. So a couple of weeks ago, the questions were in. We were supposed to have by now already the questions posted by the government. And as luck would have it, I think that by the time I'm done with presentation, sure enough, they may be posted on the GSA website, or by Friday, they should be out. But again, questions were submitted. Feedback should actually just come back to the industry, in the month of June. And as you can see, I put in the deadline TBD. The last time we got together, the deadline was stated as the 30th of June. We've actually just known, and we've seen that the government has indicated that they're going to provide additional time to allow those bidders, specifically in the women-owned small business and the small business group, to basically address any modifications that may have resulted as part of the changes and or the questions. So we know that the 30th of June is not going to be the deadline, so no suspense there. We have a little bit of time for us to get ready and to take corrective action to address the changes that we know will be forthcoming. But then again, we expect those changes to actually take place or be announced in writing very shortly. So we expect those to be dropping in at any time. The only other piece of the calendar that is now beginning to be in question, so I'm marking it as blue, is the release of the SDB, OSB, and the Hub Zone LET section, which we're still having it for calendar year 2022 quarter 4. So October, November, December, that's what we are still tracking. And so if we observe any changes, we'll let you know. But we typically see that when there's a substantial change in a couple of the preceding programs or phases of an IDIQ, that the latter parts slide a little bit to the right. So we're beginning to see that, and it may be actually that this pushes over to Q1 2023 calendar year. If there's anything that I've missed that I have not shared with you on major changes, please let me know. I'll be monitoring the chat. But again, not a whole lot of changes, right? As a matter of fact, there have been no additional news. The latest things that we had actually from the GSA were the fact that the protest had been dismissed, if you recall, related to the qualifications of joint ventures and teamings. And so that basically was addressed. The protest was dismissed, and basically the GSA will proceed forward. And we expect that actually going to be true for Polaris as far as for Oasis and other GWACs. The fact that they're going to allow the past performance in projects and qualifying projects for larger companies to be used by the smaller companies within the JV or the teaming. So moving then to the recommendations as far as what we should be doing and what we recommend to all of our viewers to actually just be doing in this particular period is to continue to do periodic bid, no bid. And this applies also for Polaris, but also for the other solicitations that you have out there. And the reason I say this is We know that we've gone and we should have actually just been preparing for Polaris. So therefore, if you're here, it looks like you're going to be bidding it. But there may be other opportunities that because of the delay may be impacted. And so because of Polaris's importance, is recommended that you guys continue to look at your pipeline, look at the opportunities that are coming down the line, look at to make sure that you have your resources aligned so that you can do Polaris and you can address any changes that may come up, as well as addressing any other of the solicitations that may come in as form as OTAs, other full and open contracts that you may be monitoring. So please pay attention to those. Make sure that you're staying on top of your discipline for the bid, no bid. So that's actually recommendation number one. Recommendation number two, and I do have a quick update, based on one of the questions that I received from last webinar, but recommendation number two is to review your compliance and qualification matrix. And again, it never hurts to actually just do a periodic review. Sometimes because of the time that we've spent or that has elapsed between the last look and now, you may be able to find something because now you're looking at it with fresh eyes. So strong recommendation. Do a review of your qualification matrix, look at your compliance matrix, look at your projects, and make sure that they're all falling within the window, and make sure that those are the best projects that you have available to present your case to the government. As well, some things have changed. You may have actually just, become part of a new teaming agreement, a new joint venture, a new M&A activity. This probably would be a really good time to make sure that you address and do an evaluation of your compliance and qualification matrix to make sure that A, you're still compliant, and number two, that you're presenting your best foot forward. And specifically on the area of qualification matrix and projects that you should use as reference, one of the statements that I made last time is that, you want to look at the gap in the time where those would apply, that 5-year window. And there's some concern that because we're sliding to the right, that may be the case, that some of the qualifying projects you may have selected may be actually falling out of the window. Did some research based on some of the questions and the feedback that I received from the viewers, and I really appreciate your questions. And yes, it is true that and one of the suggestions that basically started this line of questioning was the fact that you look at the original date in the solicitation as the deadline for qualifying projects. And while that is true, I had actually just a mixed bag of recommendations, from different folks in GSA and other soliciting agencies to make sure that, although that is correct, that you also look at projects that still give you a fresh look. I don't think that it's going to be a major problem. We're only talking here about a month worth of delay between when the original deadline was and where we are now. Maybe actually the deadline for the original or for the next submission will be in the month of July. So that should not be a major problem, or not should be a major point of contention. But all the same, please make sure you look at your compliance matrix, look at your qualifying projects, and within that window, make sure that you actually are selecting the projects that will give you the highest particular score. And with that, just trying to be as brief as possible, we're trying to make sure that we stay on top of the solicitation, report on any changes, and actually we're going to be really active once the new solicitation is let with the modifications. So I have nothing else to state over here, but I want to make sure that we are actually available to answer your questions. So to the floor, any particular questions on the content or any questions in general that we would like to address with the team here. I'm going to be looking at the chat board. I don't see any new messages. I'm just doing a quick search, make sure that I can see who's available and who's been asking questions. I see no questions coming on board, and I do appreciate your time. Just want to make sure we continue to do these quick checkups to make sure that we're not missing anything, such that when the changes come out, we can actually just jump all over them. So I have nothing else to report. For those of you who have actually taken the time this afternoon, thank you so much for joining us today. Continue to monitor our blog, continue to monitor our newsletter. We'll be posting material at tridentproposals.com/blog. And also, if you have any questions, make sure that you don't forget to visit tridentproposals.com/Polaris. But with that said, I have no new material. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. If you have any particular questions that you may want to ask, again, you can hit me up. My name is Nelson, and my email is nelson@tridentproposals.com. So I'm going to hang around here for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, I'll be monitoring the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much. Have a great week. Happy Father's Day. Stay out of the heat, and see you in the next webinar. Thanks so much. Okay, Nidhi, let's see here. What may be the typical score that a WSOB should have before thinking to respond? Okay, that's a good question. And Nidhi, are you still here? I just want to make sure that I am addressing your question here. Just let me know if you're still. Yes, great. So the question is, what you're trying to sort out is, should I be bidding and should I be moving on forward, right? And so when you look at the scorecard, one of the things that, the government is going to be looking at, because it's the best in class qualification, is that you're actually in the higher percentile, 90% and or above 85 to 90% on the percentile. So when you're looking at the actual scorecard, if you don't have a copy, you can get one in our website. Look at the scorecard, and when you're looking at the points accrual, you want to be on the 80%, 90% of the total point value to make sure that you are really competitive. Other than that, you begin to be actually falling into the group that is actually just, let's just call it like a B tier. Not that it's not non-competitive, but a B tier. And the thing to remember is that the solicitation is going to be basically stacked based on the most qualified, based on points, onto like cutoff point. We don't know exactly what's going to be the discretionary point of, bid, no bid. But to answer your question, you always want to be on the highest percentile, between 80 to 90%. That's actually the sweet spot to make sure that you can accrue those points and be relevant and competitive with all the other folks that are going to be out there. Again, keeping in mind that this is going to be a massive solicitation for 10 years, you can expect some stiff competition. So did I answer your question? You have a follow-on? I'm going to be looking over here. I see that you're typing. And great question. I mean, it's somewhat like a bit of an unknown there. But if you actually just, okay. Yes, we do. So the question that, the follow-on question from Needy is, do we actually just help find partners for the JV so that the team can actually score the most points? The answer is yes. And we also help with evaluating your case, right? So we can actually just spend some time with you, help you look at the complete scorecard, look at your qualifying projects, give you an independent opinion to make sure that it's the points that you expect to get are in fact what you can get. And then we can also collaborate and help out finding a good JV that's going to join in and help you qualify. Key thing that I will tell you there is that specifically for the women-owned and for the small business, clock's ticking. So if you are not on a JV already or in a teaming agreement, that's going to be really tough to make. So we actually should be able to talk here immediately after the presentation just to make sure that we address that for you, because if you want to go that route, you basically need to be in hustle mode. Okay, understand? Yep. And again, like I said, Needy, glad to actually just to follow up my email again, nelson@tridentproposals.com. I'll follow up and I'll send you a quick note, and we can actually just again take a quick look and see what we can do to help out. But glad to help out in any way that we can. Yes, so the question is also, will we have similar sessions for Big Mac? Absolutely. The next actually session for the Big Mac is actually going to be next Wednesday. At the same time, I'll be actually just making that presentation as well. If you want to sign up for those, you can go to tridentproposals.com/oasis, and in that page you can actually just go and register. So absolutely, please join us for those. We'll be doing the same thing for Oasis, and shameless plug for that series. We are right now in a little bit of a hurry up and wait, but we're going through the preliminaries and helping folks get ready, because the one commodity that we have now is time, and that's always good to employ it to make sure that we are in a good spot to qualify. All right. Well, excellent. Any other questions from the team? Thank Needy for your question. And again, I'll follow up with you to make sure that we actually go deeper if you need to on those answers that I just gave. Anybody else? I see that we have Bill, Kim, Kristen, Nicole, Pam. Any other questions? Again, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much for taking the time. If there are no other questions, and hit me up at nelson@tridentproposals.com so I can go one-on-one and help out with answers and or advice on these solicitations. Thanks so much for your day. Hope you have a fantastic day. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next webinar.